world.
Actually, Colin, if
Okay.
if he hadn't had appendicitis last year, Barnstable would have done really
All right, good afternoon. We'd like to begin
Postseason.
the Tuesday, August 13th, 2024 meeting of the Golf Committee. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30, Section 20, I have to ask if anyone is taping this meeting. Seeing none. The meeting will be replayed on Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Access Channel at the Town of Barnstable website. All right, our first job is the roll call. Jeff Converse.
Present.
John Cookson.
Present.
Keith Hochstein, present. Suzanne Connolly. Mark Bushway. Bill Silva.
Present.
Jason Orby. Jesse, have we had any public comments?
Not submitted to me, no.
Okay. So the next thing is to act on the minutes of the June 11th, 2024 meeting. Does anyone have any additions or deletions? Suggestions for the minutes of that meeting? All right, do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes.
And a second? All in favor of accepting the minutes signify by a hand raise. Okay, we'll accept the minutes. All right, the next item is,
Even though nothing was submitted to me, I would think that doesn't mean there isn't public comment.
okay, right. Do we have any public comments at this time? Okay. Yes, please.
Roll time for the record. Okay. All right, just checking all the boxes.
No, I'm absolutely glad you did that, Jesse. All right, the Hyannis Clubhouse update.
Yes, Chris Canella, Director of Community Services. I'm here to provide the update for the Hyannis Golf Course Clubhouse. I know that we've received a lot of emails, a lot of inquiries. Jesse and his staff have received a bunch of questions. I've come before you when I could, try to bring pertinent information to everybody and where we stand today. We had another meeting this morning, but I know, and just for the record, we'll kind of go back a little bit. We were approved with a capital improvement project, appropriation number 2024-138 in the amount of $2,950,000. That was approved. That's approved via the general fund reserve, and that was approved as of July 1st. So we are now August 13th. So that money is not, I've heard comments and answered phone calls about it's not in tangent with the insurance settlement. It's two separate things. So we have that money. We are proceeding with that project. We are at, right now today, 98% construction drawings. We had a meeting back in July with our architectural team, GDD, which is the mechanical engineers, the hired architectural firm, Habib & Associates. We went through all of the mechanical, everything else that we needed to go through. I had concerns with, putting it back to the state that we all kind of wanted to put it back to, and then not really addressing some of the major concerns with where the pipe burst happened and in the future, saying, okay, we do all this work, we spend $3 million, and we're going to be here. How do we make sure we have heat in that building? Because we know there's going to be another piece of it. So that was something in that July meeting that I brought up, that has been brought up in the past, but kind of gained some traction as the town has numerous portable generators. And as Jesse knows, I didn't want to be reliant on them. So that was kind of a curveball thrown into it. Is this something we're going to tackle now? No, but we would probably put in the circuits and put it in so we can flick a switch to have our own generator there. Not to run the whole place, to run the heat so this never happens again. And the insurance company, I'm sure, will be on board with that. But again, we're at 98% construction drawings right now. And I know it took a long time to get from 90 to 98. I am confident standing in front of you today that those bid documents will be going out to bid, I would say 4 to 5 weeks, within a month from today. A month to 5 weeks from today. So those documents will be going out. They are going to be sent to procurement within the week. That's the front end in procurement, we do the front end of the document, meaning the town. All the other bid documents are already put together. That was part of Habib and Associates' responsibility. So everything is ready to go. Now, it's a very complicated process to go out to bid because you have sub-bids, because you have so many other things. We still have, Jesse was part of the meeting today, we still have hazardous abatement to be done. And it's a small area, but it's another piece of the puzzle. Right when you enter the clubhouse on the right-hand side where the trophy wall is, well, we're going to remove the trophy case. Well, we wanted to remove the trophy case, but we had to remove the trophy case because that's where our new fire control system is going to go. So those are all things, like I said, that are part of this process, and it's not just a cookie cutter. But those documents are ready to go. They're out the door. That's where we are with the construction process and the bid process as far as the clubhouse is concerned. As far as the insurance settlement, we've received a couple checks, nowhere near what I believe they should be, nowhere near where Mark Marinuccio, town architect, believes where they should be, or David Anthony, our our asset manager, believes they should be. So in essence, and I've talked with this group numerous times, I like to boil things down and keep it simple for everybody here, myself and the viewers. Pretty much, we have already met the 30% of the value that triggers accessibility code. The insurance company has accepted that. They own that. Now, the next parameter we're trying to catch is the 50% value. So if we reach a 50% value of the property with all the projects that we needed done, that triggers complete code compliancy. Complete. HVAC, electrical, every single thing. That's a big argument that the insurance company's making. It's a big argument that the town is trying to make, and we have now procured and secured a separate code review company because that's where we are at in the process with our building commissioner, with our architect, with their architect, and saying, listen, if you're telling us to put it back and this is ADA compliant and this is all code compliant, you don't want to pay us the insurance settlement, tell us how you want us to put it back and how much it's going to cost, because it's still going to be 50%. That's not really slowing this project up. I just thought it was pertinent information because as this process goes along, golf, community services and golf is going to have a large financial burden in putting this back together again. So we already have I wouldn't say that we have settled on anything, but we're willing to make some compromises along the way for some things, specifically the fire suppression system and that water line that should have been done, could have been done, previous ownership, this ownership, depending on how it's classified and is used as a nightclub. But that's a concession, again, that I'm willing to make. And do I have to do it? Do I not want to do it? A wood frame building built in 1975 ever has a fire. Chris Ganella wants to have the conscience of, I put a sprinkler system back in that building and I saved lives, not saved money for the town. So that's kind of where we are in that process. And again, that process, I don't know where that's going to go, but that is not holding up the project. And I think finally we are at a point now where we are going to hit the green light and we are going to go. I know the question that comes in after that point, when is it open after that? It's so hard to determine when it is, and you can say best case, worst case, all cases. I think with legal review of everything and the bids coming back, without any major mechanical delays of equipment, I think it's a 10-month project. And we could get someone in here who's not doing a bunch of sub-bids, who hits the ground running, is eager to get in and get out, and it's a winter project, and they're gone. But I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, it's going to be open in July, or hey, it's going to be open in June. I'm telling you, as I've told you before, I've done everything that I can, and others in the town have pushed this forward to the point right now where we're going out to bid document, and that should be out in the next 4 to 5 weeks. That's pretty much what I have for an update.
Are the bids required to be submitted by a date specific? Are these, submit the bids within 2
Yes.
weeks? Or
Yes.
What is that time period?
It depends on the value and depends on what we set, but typically it's a 2-week. because you want to have a sub-bid review as well. So you have, maybe it'll go out to bid for a week, and then there'll be like, so it goes out, say, let's just say September 1, and then you have a 2-week review or a 1-week review with a week questions. So you say, hey, I'm interested, but I have some questions. You'll come in, and then it'll go after that. But usually a 2 to 3 week process total.
And the low bid is the winner?
The lowest reasonable bid.
Lowest reasonable bid?
Correct. So when the state does procurement, it's not just all cost related. It has to do with certain variables. How many construction projects at this caliber have you done? You know, when we do a cart path project or we do anything else, hey, we do a field project, I want someone who's worked on a golf course construction site for 5 years, who understands what a construction site on a golf course is, someone who's a member of New England PGA. I mean, we can set certain parameters that aren't limiting, we're picking a contractor, but are ensuring that we get the best contractor that we can for the money.
Who makes that decision on what's reasonable? I mean, is there a committee, or is there an individual?
That's,
call?
it depends on if it's a request for a proposal or a request for quote.
Yeah.
But that would be basically through procurement and architects and engineers on the golf course end.
Okay.
And I trust in them, you know, that's their job.
Chris, you covered a lot of ground. For me personally, I have a number of questions, but if other members of the committee have a question, I'd let them go first.
More on the insurance and the...
Yeah, well, that's my number one question as well.
In the golf enterprise fund budget, there's $2,450,000 of expected insurance returns and $500,000 that will come out of surplus or capital budget. Do you think that's going to change?
Absolutely.
To what extent?
I'm not confident to saying what extent. I wasn't confident in that number when it was produced, the $500,000, because it's all intangible based on insurance. I'm looking at different scenarios, and in essence, basically, if it's a $2.95 million project and we get 1.05 from insurance company, I'm just doing the math. I'm not saying that's where we're going to be. We're looking at financing $1.9 million, which is about $136,000 annually for 20 years that golf is going to have to come up with. If we can get that number lower than that, for down to 1.5 being our responsibility, you're looking at $100,000 annually, or $8,400 a month. And the conversations have started to happen, because golf is an enterprise account, but it is a town property, is as far as what responsibility can and do we want to go to the general fund or to the town, meaning there was talk of potentially using it for the function room for voting purposes or other avenues, but then you're giving up your area for September and November with early voting and everything else. And it's like, do we want to handicap a concessionaire and take out probably their 2 best months of the year, or do we want to have the ownership? Well, to me, it depends on what kind of value they're talking about kicking in and contributing to this. So I think at this point, you know, to answer your question more specifically, yes, that number is going to change. To which way, I do not know exactly. If I was if I had to give an answer and a guess, I would say that we're probably going to be in line for about $1.5 million. That would be my best guess.
Who put the $500,000 out originally?
I think that was collaborated with Director of Finance Mark Milne, Director of Asset Management, and given the information we had at the time, I thought that was the best information that we had. $600,000 of that is the fire sprinkler system and that water line. $600,000 right off the get-go. That's a big chunk of money.
So your best guess, Chris, if I could just get you to repeat that, is 1.9 million is going to be our share, and that we would finance this? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
And that would be 136,000 a year?
Correct. About $11,333 a month.
How much per day then?
I look at it with Jesse's budget per month, not per day.
Okay.
How many rounds per month?
So that's a 25-year note?
20.
20 years.
And just to, I just want to clarify too that with this, and I've had conversations, and for you guys that are in the audience and don't know, I have an extensive history in golf course maintenance and a lot of pride in what I do as the Director of Community Services. And I'm not just looking at this clubhouse. I came into this position when Madeline left, and I have two major goals as far as golf is concerned, and that is I want to improve Hyannis Golf Course, major tree projects, getting that environmentally sustainable, land care management, actually sustainable, where you have more air movement, more sunlight, and that's probably number two to the number one, which is bunkers in Hyannis. So, okay, so what's town share do I want? Do I want to go general fund and have them cut us a check for $500,000 for a golf course, clubhouse? Or do I want to try to go to CPC and try to have them generate funds for bunkers? I'm going towards the latter. This is something that's our asset. We control it, meaning golf. I'd rather go after or request funding from CPC to do other projects in the future. So we're not going, hey, this money is now handicapping us for 20 years. Okay, it is in a certain way, but if we can get other funding through other resources to help with improving both facilities, what's the difference? You want to give me $100 for this or $100 for that? I'll take the $100.
The debt on the course is going to be finished thanks to the generosity of CPC as of this year, right?
Correct.
Okay,
July 1, 2025.
right. Is it at all possible for you to ponder the possibility of the repairing of the bunkers in the winter of 26?
Yes.
We still could feel that might be done.
I think it's at the point now where I didn't want to, I was very hesitant, and if you remember, I actually pulled back a few capital improvement projects when this first happened, wanting to reserve the capacity financially to pay for anything that we need. So now if I know my worst case scenario, once I know what my worst case scenario is with the insurance settlement, and I have a pretty good idea, like we said, that 1.9 million, I think that gives me some leverage then to go to CPC and say, listen, we're going to be taking on this. We bought this property for water conservation. We've maintained the golf course. We had this unfortunate incident. We're contributing $2 million for the next 20 years. Thank you for your generosity, but in order for us to keep generating income and keep up with the competition, other municipal golf courses on Cape Cod, we really feel as though we need to do this bunker renovation project and see if we can get that green lighted through legal and CPC. So yes, that's my goal, is to get that submitted through Community Preservation Committee.
You had mentioned the possibility of using the Hyannis Clubhouse for other than golf-related functions. Did I understand you correctly there?
Correct.
And that was the suggestion of whom? The town manager?
It wasn't a suggestion. It's just looking at a place as they relocate staff and try to sell off or utilize 200 Main Street, the property down the road. Voting operations, as everybody knows, has expanded from COVID till now, and having a place because of early voting. So it was a potential solution. We've looked at every building in town for those purposes, and that was the Hyannis Golf Course function room would have been or could be a space that could accommodate such operations. But again, being during the voting cycles and three to 4 a year, depending on what year it is, it's not really in line with golf operations.
Okay. So that's just like a theoretical
Correct. We've looked at everything.
conversation. All right.
So we've even looked at and had the conversation because of trying to get this done. And I try to put myself in situations, and I said, geez, if I own this, would I even put this thing back together again? You know, I said, what if we just lopped off the whole function room? We built a beautiful retaining wall. We had a nice white tent. I mean, they have it at Oyster Harbors. Why couldn't we have it at Hyannis and do the same thing, a beautiful patio? Okay, well, I'm still at the same amount of money that I am here, and I don't have a building. I have a tent. So we've kind of gone back and forth and looked at every single option, whether it be utilizing the space for another town, whether it be reducing the space for us, and future maintenance of that space as well. So we've looked at everything, and we've come to the conclusion that putting it back and putting it back better than it ever has been is the best option.
Other questions?
Yes, we came into the year with a golf, I believe, on a surplus of
2.2.
And looks like we added another 260,000 to 40,000.
Half of that. About half of that. I'll get into it in my report, but the number you're looking at is just what we beat forecast by. We were using six figures to balance from surplus. So you have to back that out before you consider the actual.
So what, approximately, what is the surplus at the end of this year?
It's going to be about 1.5. And that's in my report because Mr. Millen chose to, those 3 CIPs we had last year, the turf equipment package, the irrigation heads, and the cart barn roof replacement. He wanted to pay for that all out of surplus without financing it. That was about $750,000. So that brought us from 2.25 down to 1.5.
So the, if the
Sean,
Microphone.
move up a little bit.
1.9 million is finance, and the bunkers come out of CPC, what happens to the 1.5 million surplus? Does that stay, or?
I think the surplus stays, and I think the goal is to have it around 2.2 million or 50% of your annual total operating budget for golf. So for the first time in 4 or 5 years, last year was right where Director Milne wanted us to be, which was right around 2.2.
First time
I think your
ever,
budgets
I'd
were
say.
4.4 or 4.5 million off the top of my head, somewhere in there. So that's where they want. But again, to Jesse's point, and he's going to have it in his report, is I think $150,000 of FY24's budget was reserve. So again, with business and financial manager and looking at this too, this might be something where we say, hey, that $100,000 or $136,000 annual, maybe that comes out of our reserve for our budget, and then we either put it back or we don't, but at least we can account for it to get the green light and go, pay for it. Understand?
I've been on this committee, I don't know, 9, 10 years, I guess. And over those 10 years, I don't think we've done anything to improve the golf courses. It appears to me that every year we're just trying to do what we have with the funds that we have to maintain the golf courses in the best shape, but no improvements to the bunkers, nothing for the golfers. It might be an awning for the clubhouse or a cart pass, but the golf course itself, both golf courses have not had any improvements. We aren't doing anything to better the courses. We're taking away bunkers that helps James and helps maintain the maintenance, and it's even getting more difficult now. We can see what happened to Old Barnstable over the winter, and now with all of the heat, what that's done with the course. And I just think it's time to put something into the golf courses. And I believe the bunkers are the number one thing. You talk to people who play golf in the Cape, who say, I'm not going to Hyannis. I'm not going to Hyannis because of the bunkers are just horrible. Hyannis has to have the $59 special to attract people. And I don't know why you wouldn't put something into the golf course to get out of the rut of just trying to keep it the way it always has been, to try to maintain it. It's beyond me how you can have this great asset and not try to improve it, or not actually improve it. Just try to, maintain it. So
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And like I said, with my background in golf maintenance, and we have to remember that it's a golf course. Golfers go to golf courses. Yes, we want the clubhouse. Yes, we want all these other things, but it's about the condition of the golf course. And to be quite honest, going to CPC anytime during the last 7 years when they're paying a $245,000 note for us, asking us for more money, doesn't seem fiscally responsible to me. July 1, that's up. They've shown that they were committed to us. They helped purchase the property. Can you help us do it? Because let's face it, in this day and age in the golf market on Cape Cod, it's not in order to maintain market share, you need to improve the golf course. You can't just go status quo. We've made some, I think James and his staff have done a phenomenal job. And I would say that
I didn't imply.
No, but I would say that we have made some changes
Yep.
with what we could. They might be nominal, but I mean, that cart path project was a pretty substantial project. I think adding the forward tees and and improving the playability of Hyannis was a good project. I think a lot of these things, and you guys are all golfers, you can go to other facilities, and I have. Not many golf courses are getting a $600,000, equipment package every 7 to 10 years. I mean, we have it good, and I hear you, and I hear the golf community, and I want to improve that golf course and give these guys the resources they need to do it. And I think we're on that way. And Hyannis Golf Course bunkers have been the #1 complaint that I've heard since being the director. I think Jesse's heard it. Everybody hears it. It's a matter of let's get it together and let's get it to CPC and see what happens. And I'm committed to doing that. I love Hyannis Golf Course. I think it's a better golf course than more challenging. I wouldn't say it's a better, but it's a more challenging golf course.
Chris, I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
And it's really a follow-up to John's question. I talk to the pass holders, the guys that I play with, and I ask them how they feel about the course and that kind of thing. And obviously, the clubhouse at Hyannis is a big concern for people. I'd like you to just give you the opportunity to answer a question that I am asked, because basically I haven't been able to answer it. And that is this: if the exact same thing had happened to another facility in the town, be it the Youth and Community Center, Senior Center, which I'm not sure. I know it's not the name of the Senior Center anymore. It's, what is the name?
Community Center.
Adult, thank you. If the exact same thing had happened, it would not have taken 18 months to get this project started. And yet, February through whenever we begin will be about 18 months. What would be your answer to that?
I would say that would be dead wrong. I think that every facility has different challenges. Municipal buildings, insurance settlements. I mean, I can't speak to outside of what I work with and what I'm responsible for. But I mean, I know that there's mold issues in schools that have been ongoing for years. I know that Town Hall has heating, venting, and air conditioning things that have been on the docket for 12 years. You brought up Hyannis Youth and Community Center. It's been on a constant CIP improvement process. I'm waiting on ERV1, ERV2, 4 years. 4 years. I currently don't have air conditioning and air in some of the areas in that facility. I don't have air conditioning in my gym. I haven't had it for 3 years. So is it completely shut down? Is it a nuisance? I mean, we can have semantics and going back and forth. Well, you still have a food truck. That's food technically. I mean, I think this happens quite a bit. And being golf or being an enterprise account, I don't think has any jurisdiction at all or any influence as far as what has happened or what's transpired or been delayed. I've been meeting with you folks, and Jesse knows that I've been behind the scenes pushing this from the day it started. I kind of took the bull by the horns, and I'm not taking it personally. I'm just saying
that's not directed at you.
I'm just saying I don't believe that there's anything else that would have, made this go any faster. More emails or a different department or a different building.
Different insurance company?
Hindsight's 2020. This has been a new thing to me, and full disclosure, February 5th, first thing I said was, are we going to hire our own private insurance adjuster? Okay, so maybe we should have done that. Are we not having this conversation when we're close to a settlement? Did we spend $1 million in legal fees to get $1.5 million? I don't know. All I know is everybody that I've worked with in the town has done the best that they can to push this along. And I don't see any other building or anything else that would have taken precedent. We're not on anybody's back burner.
That's the feeling. That's the feeling right there, that golf can be on the back burner.
The answer is no.
Okay.
Will any of this information be communicated to the membership, and updates?
I think after I have several emails I want to respond to, but I wanted to address this first. I'll work on drafting something with Jesse's help to get out to all membership now that we have this new information as far as going out to bid within 4 to 5 weeks. So like I said, I think when I have information, I provide it.
Other questions? Okay. All right. We're going to move on to the Director of Golf Maintenance report.
All right. It's been kind of a tough summer so far. It was a pretty nasty stretch we had back there in July. We specifically some of the callers at Hyannis and some of the fairways and tee boxes at both courses, they went backwards a little bit, but we have started to bring them back. We're going to be in a couple of weeks here aggressively overseeding some of those problem areas to get them back. We are almost into September in a couple of weeks. That's ideal grass growing weather. We've got a great a great seeder that goes on the back of our tractor. We've had great success with it last year, so we will bring those areas back. But overall, like I said, especially with our low chemical inputs, I thought we hung in there pretty tough. And I've been to some other golf courses, and I've seen everybody's kind of in the same boat. I've seen some struggles at other properties. Other things to note, and this will help with that overseeding, we're doing another round of our organic fertilizer on the specifically the fairways and tee boxes at both courses. Hyannis actually already did it last week, and we'll be doing it tomorrow at Old Barnstable. Try to really get them in gear for the fall. Let's see, what else? Also, we finally got to some much-needed fence at Hyannis. It's been bothering us for a while. We can't get grass to grow near the greens on a few holes, mostly due to cart traffic. We've got these brand-new, beautiful cart paths, and to try to force carts to where they should be going, specifically on holes 1 and 6 over there. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to on number 1. People are so used to shooting to the left, and that's just a cow path. So trying to force people to go around and utilize the cart path with the fence now.
At Old Barnstable, you've done similar things, not exactly the same.
Yeah.
On the 3rd hole, for instance, and on the 13th hole,
Yes.
the new post and rail fences look really good, and obviously we're trying to get grass to grow there. Are you planning to put any more of that fencing in any of the holes at Old Barnstable? Or are you going to focus on Hyannis, or,
There's going to be a few other areas at both courses.
because that looks great.
Yeah, yeah,
And as soon as the grass grows in,
right. We,
do you know why weeds grow faster than grass?
Well, we have
I'd like to have the answer for my own personal lawn and for the areas that you seeded at Old Barnstable.
we have a few limitations. One, we can't use traditional starter fertilizer.
Okay.
And two, by the time we got to it, I mean, July, not a good time to try to grow grass. It's just, the seedlings we did have come up, a lot of it
Yeah.
damped off.
It's not a complaint there. I mean, I think they look great, but it's just,
They're going to be overseeded in the fall.
okay.
And hopefully we get some nice turf there. So it was nice to finally get to some of that at both courses. One other thing I wanted to mention, this doesn't come up a lot. The irrigation systems at both courses are both kind of showing their signs of age, and it is something we need to keep on our radar. I know everyone talks about the bunkers, but that's really the lifeblood of a golf course. And we've got problems, lots of leaks at Hyannis. I mean, it's original system, 1970s. I mean, once a week, usually the guys are digging something up over there. And then at Old Barnstable, all the original shut-off valves, you go to use them and they usually break. So it's just something we have to keep on our radar. Capital improvement-wise, it has to be, in my opinion, something we're going to have to address at both properties, including the pumping stations, which I'm hoping maybe some of the OPCAP money can address some of that. I mean, motor-wise, we're pretty good, but some of those pumps at Old Barnstable, they haven't been pulled in, I don't even, 20 years. It's time. Yeah. So just to, that's got to be something we think about. Moving on, brief Hyannis equipment update. I have been promised that 2 new greens mowers will be arriving shortly, maybe in 2 weeks, finally, which is great. Everything else, still waiting on 2 fairway mowers, 2 rough mowers, and a core collection machine, and I don't have dates on those still, unfortunately. Pretty frustrating. Was really hoping to have the core collection machine before fall, but
And this is a Toro dealer?
this is all Toro, yeah.
Where do we get it from again?
It's Toro Equipment. The distributor is called TPC out of Connecticut. They're the Northeast distributor for Toro. It's just, I mean, 16 months now, I think.
Yep.
But I know other golf courses are in the same boat. It's, everyone who's trying to get equipment has been forced to wait, so. Hopefully it comes in before the fall. Brief Audubon update. It has been kind of slow progress with the summer we've had. I'm waiting on some water testing results on groundwater at Old Barnstable that I need to submit to them. And then I'm pretty close to having all my requirements submitted. And then we're talking about them coming out for a site visit, hopefully this fall.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Good.
Yes, very good.
James, the guys that I play with over at Hyannis are always asking about the crabgrass on, some of the tees and.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yep.
and their comments seem to say that there's no answer to this, and I don't know what to say to them.
Well, we do treat for it. We go out at a super low rate, and when you have a hot summer at those kind of rates, you're going to have breakthrough. That's just the direction we're heading. We can't use post-emergent products as far as herbicides. It's ugly. It's not just tee boxes. I mean, there's quite a bit around the bunker faces, and I knew that was going to be the number one problem, and it is our number one problem is weeds. It's not just the crabgrass; it's the clover.
So what do we see in 4 or 5 years? Or
honestly, it's probably going to get worse. Outside of stripping tee boxes and resodding, that's what the Vineyard Club does. Start over.
Yeah, they don't repair turf, they replace it.
Yeah.
James, just following up with John's question, some of the fairways at Old Barnstable seem like skunks or crows have
Oh,
just
yeah.
pecked away. They're going after grubs, and that's because we don't have, we have to use organic fertilizer.
Not necessarily organic fertilizer. We're not, it would be insecticides that we're not using. We're not using traditional
Insecticides, okay.
insecticides. Yeah. The crows are mostly going after earthworms, but the skunks have definitely been tearing up, going after some grubs.
It's always been an issue with the Vineyard Club. You know, they've got their skunk traps out there.
One thing I do like is on the par 3 tees at Hyannis, some of the seed, and it seems like it's 75% people use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have been using them, and I'll give a shout out to maintenance employee Sean Kroll. He takes a lot of pride in that place, and he's really good about using the seed in the boxes before it goes bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's helping.
Yeah, there's a lot of tees where you can see that
Some recovery from all the
people,
divots.
yeah, people have used the seed, and it's a good
I
improvement.
see
I
Mike
think.
and Pat there today.
Yeah, the older couple that does all the divots for us at Old Barnstable, they've actually been doing 1 day a week at Hyannis, and they've been helping out too. So, I should just point out a shout out not just to the full-time staff, but we have a very dedicated seasonal staff. That a lot of them have been with us for years, and they're a huge part of our operation. And they take a lot of pride in the courses.
I think I could address this to either of you gentlemen. In terms of the volunteers, we had talked about having a volunteer day or days to replace divots, or sand, not replace the divots, but put down sand, because even though the couple that we hire do a great job, we both know that. I see them out there working. I mean, they go nonstop. There's still a lot of divots because of people that apparently don't feel that it's their job to replace their divots.
It's tough for them to keep up with all the fairway divots in particular, yeah.
But we will do that again when we punch greens,
Okay.
because the course is closed, so it just makes the most sense.
Yeah, that worked out great last year, I think.
We'll do that every fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think between every single fairway
Had a good
divot, I think I
response,
filled.
yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
And you're not in anybody's way. Yeah, it made sense.
Do you think there's there'd be any worth in just threatening people that if you don't replace your divots, we're going to remove your membership?
You're going to
Let
have
Jesse
about
answer
4
that.
members
Is
left.
that a yes or a no?
But Keith, they're the people who come at 6 o'clock and sneak on and.
Oh, all right. Yeah, we can't do anything.
The card that you put in the cards, was it last year?
Yeah.
Does that say anything about?
Oh, yeah.
That's just time
Yeah.
to play. Does it also talk about divots?
Yep.
Oh, it does?
These are, yeah.
Okay, so
It's-
yeah.
I mean, it's,
Do you have
No, there are
divot
some
mix
people
on
that
the
just-
carts?
no.
We've found Cranberry Valley, that's been huge.
Really.
Everybody's using them, and they come back empty. It's
Maybe the-
amazing. Every
you
night
know,
we're filling them.
Maybe
all
the
up.
next run, that was a pretty, with, ordering 160 carts at once, that was
Yeah.
a pretty substantial add-on, believe it or not. It's,
No, I believe
it's
it.
it's a 5-figure add-on.
Sure.
But maybe the next round,
If it's there. If you give the
Right.
people the divot mix, they'll use it, particularly if your starter or your person in the shop reminds
a-
them when you go out there, hey, don't forget.
I mean,
you know,
that would be a substantial decision package just to increase the sand and seed line.
It would.
Just to, that's real money.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we can't do it.
No,
Yeah.
I get it. I'm just telling you that,
Yeah.
they do use it if it's available.
But you're right, you can't, who knows who would if you don't offer it to them.
Yeah.
I I don't know, I'm just talking out loud here now because I think most of the people I play with replace their divots, and the expression, leave the course in better shape than you found it, is part of their mentality. And yet, we see divots everywhere. So I didn't know if we could just begin that kind of philosophy. And I don't know exactly how to do it, but that idea of leaving the course in better shape than you found it, replace divots, fix ball marks on the green. You know, you're standing there for several minutes waiting for your partners to putt. Sure, you have your own ball mark, but you have a lot of others that within your vicinity that you could easily repair. People don't think that way for whatever reason.
I'll make it a point to increase the level of education, shall I say, that we provide. I mean, there's not a golf course in the country that doesn't struggle with this to some extent.
No.
But
Honestly, I think it's a lot of the younger,
Yeah, I was
Younger
going to
players.
say, the members, I think,
Yeah, I
take care
agree
of the
with you.
course.
for the most
drive the
part,
carts wherever they want. They don't, yeah.
Yeah, the younger kids in the public.
it's difficult. But I can, I can increase our PSAs, so to speak, our awareness, an awareness campaign. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll huddle up with Tom and Mary and try to get some info out there, even if it's just posting things in the shops.
Okay. James, any other comments?
No, that's,
Any other questions for James? All right, we have a Director of Golf report.
All right. Well, this is our first meeting since the close of FY24. It was a successful year in that we were able to make a contribution to our reserves, albeit a modest one. As you saw in the year-end report, and John pointed out, we beat revenue forecasts by about $285,000. So once you back out the amount that was used from reserves to initially balance, which was $172,000, and for the record, as long as I've been here 10 years, we've never had a budget that didn't require some level of reserves to balance. We've never forecasted enough revenue to cover expenses. So that's standard procedure. Once you back that out and then add back in some salary and expense savings, because we didn't spend the entire budget and we had some salary savings, I believe we're going to be contributing a touch over $150,000. Now, with a budget of over $4 million, to put that in perspective, we're talking about a profit margin of 3%. And I bring that up because it's very easy. Here's my little rant. It's very easy to ask, why can't we have this? Or my buddy's course has this. Well, at a 3% margin, if someone wants to point out where the fluff is, for lack of a better term, I'm all ears. That's the tightrope we walk when it comes to managing expenses and charging a price that is enough to cover those expenses while still being competitive enough to keep our courses full in what is obviously an incredibly dense Cape Cod golf market. So that's kind of that's the tightrope that we walk at a 3% profit margin just this past year. That brings our total surplus close to $2.25 million. According to the latest capital report I saw, and I touched on this earlier, it looks like Mr. Milne decided to pay for those 3 recent capital projects out of surplus without financing. So those being the turf equipment package that's still trickling in, the was it $90,000 worth of 300 irrigation heads new at Old Barney, and the still being worked on cart barn roof replacement at Old Barney. That was about $750,000. So that's going to knock it to about 1.5 that we have, I believe. Once our free cash gets certified, usually sometime in September, I believe it's going to be around 1.5. That's pretty much budget stuff. Kind of pretty pointless to get into a fiscal year that's only 6 weeks in, but July was very good. As you can see, in July we beat forecast by about $30,000. Moving on to some other stuff, I'm happy to report the 2-day member guest is coming up at Old Barnstable, and it is sold out at over 100 players. Other notable stuff, the Monday Quota League has already made well over $40,000 this year at Hyannis. Outside of that, obviously, honestly, not too much to report. Kind of status quo right now. Both courses are very busy. Plenty of days where we're seeing 500-plus rounds between the two right now. So maintenance staff is hard at work trying to keep the turf healthy, which is no easy task when you have hot, humid weather and 250-plus golfers daily on each course. And the operations staff is doing their best to keep things moving smoothly and keep the majority of the customers happy, which, frankly, at times, James doesn't want to admit, but can be an equally difficult task. And that's really, I didn't have much. We're thick of the season, kind of just making it work.
In the last report, you talked about touring the clubhouse at Hyannis, talking about the removal of some of the heavier kitchen equipment and stuff like that. Has that been resolved?
Short answer is no. It's been moved, but not removed.
Okay.
Is that?
Going to be in the way?
It won't be. We'll handle it. We'll get it out of there. Yeah, that exercise was, a lot of it was more to identify who owns what.
Okay.
What do we own? What do the restaurant people own? And that's being worked out with asset management as we speak.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I just had one observation. Our pass holders increased from 1160 to 1175. However, the juniors had the biggest increase. It went from 182 to 255, or 73 increase, which means that the adults had a 50-something decrease, even though we didn't have any raise in pass holder rates this last year. So is it right to draw the conclusion that the membership does not rates don't determine membership? Because we didn't do anything on rates, and we lost, maybe 5%, 3% of the pass holders.
I think it's fair to say it has a lesser impact than one would initially think. I think all the municipal courses on Cape are so similarly priced within we're talking within a couple $100, that I think, location and conditions means more. So I think it's fair to say I wouldn't worry about if we go up 5% on price, we're going to lose 20% of our membership. I don't see that happening. Nor would we have a huge surge if we lowered it.
There wasn't a loss of non-resident members.
No.
We had a big
No.
increase.
And the family membership kind of skews things a little because that doesn't show how many people it actually represents. But overall, you can see memberships are pretty flat. If it's every year, we're going to lose a couple hundred, pick up a couple hundred. It happens every year.
You've given us that answer before, too, every year.
Every year. We're gonna, oh my God, we lost 200 members. Okay, well, we gained 207.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And who knows why? People move, it's not always, I don't like it here, I'm leaving. There's a million reasons. We've had members leave because they didn't like the Chelsea system. They couldn't get a tee time, whatever, and then they went to Dennis, so they went to and guess what? The next year they came back because, the access isn't any better down the road. Golf is booming and people want to play, and that's that. Even at private clubs, access is. I know people who are members that come and quit, and they have trouble getting out some days. It's a good problem to have for us, not necessarily for the player. But
Have people had trouble getting tee times this year? I think you spoke about it a year ago, John,
Everywhere.
at least on weekends.
Yeah.
Has that been the case?
Bushwood talked about
I don't know.
oh yeah,
I've not had trouble.
You haven't, okay.
it. I'm not allowed to play weekends.
Yeah, yeah.
I know I haven't had trouble, and I do play a lot.
if you're flexible with the time, It's the people who only put a 45-minute range in their request and then get mad. You gotta, you know, loosen up your playing window a little, if you know. You know what I'm saying?
I want to play it.
I want to play between 8:30 and 9:15, and I didn't get a time.
That's right, and
Okay.
there's, excuse me, but there's only 16 tee
Right.
times available
Right.
in that spread.
So if you know, if you give it a couple-hour window, or if you're flexible on it, then you can play plenty of golf and get your money's worth.
At Old Barnstable, the popularity of golf, I try to take my 10-year-old grandson, and I kind of look for, you know, maybe a time that isn't too crowded,
Right.
so, you know, we can go out there and,
So that's what I'm saying. You're flexible, yeah.
but there's not many of those times
No.
that
They're doing 300, close to
Old
300 rounds a day.
Barnstable is,
Yeah.
you know, usually, you know, packed the whole day.
You find it easy doing projects over there? With, you know,
Wednesday.
every time you look up, is somebody hitting at you? Yeah.
Go Wednesday morning, and that's
Right.
only a couple
Right.
hours.
All right, do we have other questions of Jesse? All right. Chris, I'd like to, on behalf of the Golf Committee, I'd like to thank you for coming and giving us that update. Very much appreciated.
Thank you for having me, and like I said, we'll get something out between Jesse and myself to the membership, and I'll keep you informed as best I can as we progress through this, but hopefully we'll have some progress and going in the right direction.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Raise your hands. The meeting's adjourned.